up, guys? It's Josh from Soul Studios. Got a very special review for you today. I got my hands on the Manley VOXBOX. This is a piece of gear that I've heard about going back to the late 90s and have wanted to check out ever since then. So it's been a long time coming. I want to thank my friend Mark Cano, who loaned me the 76D for the Audioscape review. This is his VOXBOX, so thank you again, Mark, for lending your gear to the channel here so more of us can get a sense of how some of these pieces sound and make better decisions based off of that, so thank you. So we're gonna dive in on a male vocal, kind of singer-songwriter style, then we're gonna check out bass on a rock song, and then we're gonna finish up with female vocal on a country song. So I'm hoping that's gonna show a broad range of the capabilities of the VOXBOX. After doing research for this video and listening to some interviews from Ivana Manley, I was interested to hear her say that she felt like the VOXBOX was perhaps their most proud achievement. The VOXBOX is made in the US in Chino, California. It's a Tech Achievement Award winner. And when you look at the front, you may think the signal flow goes left to right, like preamp, compressor, de-esser, EQ, but it's not quite like that. It's pretty unique in the sense that the compressor comes before the preamp. So you have your input gain, which feeds the LOP compressor, and then that feeds the preamp, and then you've got the EQ and then de-esser. And I've got the manual pulled up here. I just want to go through a couple of things to let you know how versatile it is. You have microphone to VOXBOX where all sections are available. You can also do microphone to preamp and compressor combo only. Line level to VOXBOX where all sections are available, and that's what we're doing today using it as a mix insert. Line level to VOXBOX with a preamp / compressor only, and line level where you could do the EQ section only. So it's a super versatile box. I know, at least for myself, I knew it had a good reputation, but I wasn't quite sure how much you could use it in a mix situation, which is primarily what I'm doing these days, is mixing and mastering and not so much tracking. It's been awesome to learn it better and to see how powerful it is even after tracking if you're using it as a mix-only insert. So anyway, I could spend hours just going through the manual, and I have so many audio examples here today, I don't want to do that. I don't want this to get too long. But anyway, thanks for your time. I know you're here to hear the VOXBOX, so let's get into the first example here on male vocal. So I've got a song pulled up from my good friend Patrick Rock called Will We Ever Hear the Sound? And on this one, it's just an acoustic performance with one acoustic guitar track and one lead vocal. So I'm gonna solo the vocal as it was tracked. All that's going on here is a high pass filter at about 43 Hertz with the Massenburg EQ. And I'm sending a little bit of reverb blending to. One is the Studio A, which is the Bricasti M7 setting and reverberate, and then a little bit of Sunset Chamber, which is also from the M7. So we're gonna hear the vocal first, and then I'll tell you what I have in mind to do, and then we're gonna try to accomplish that by inserting the VOXBOX. So here's the dry vocal.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news.
So this was tracked with the Corby cap microphone with the modified 67 capsule. And it's one of my favorites because there's so much definition, it's so clear. What I would like to do now that it's gonna be mix time is to maybe warm that up a little bit. So I'm gonna check out pushing the gain, introducing some more of the negative feedback, AKA color. And then from there, I'll see what the compressor will do. And then, as you can tell from the dry vocal, that particular Corby head is modified to be brighter than most 67s. So I'm gonna really explore the de-esser section to help address that. And then lastly, I'll engage the EQ and just maybe bring up a little warmth in maybe the 200 Hertz area, probably cut a little bit of the high mids, and then maybe see if we can get a little bit of air like on the very top. All right, let's check it out and see what we can get here.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news. Day after day, it's a tragic story, night after night, telling us we lose.
Okay, so just on the second click, which is 45 on the gain, I'm getting as much color as I would like. Now we're going to introduce the compressor, but keep in mind the compressor is before the preamp, which is something really unique to the VOXBOX. And like we discussed before, the reason being is just to provide maximum headroom. So as the compressor is introduced, I may be able to then go back to the preamp gain and increase that. So let's see what happens here.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news. Day after day, it's a tragic story. Night after night, telling us we lose. Somewhere there's a monster sleeping. Somewhere there's a young girl sneaking out. She ran so far to find her safety now. Glad she made it out.
All right, so we're sitting at, we're hitting maybe 5 dB of compression on the peaks, and the preamp gain is all the way up now, so as much color as possible. I like what it's doing because it's really starting to round out that top end and bring up some of the bottom, which is what I was gonna try to do with EQ later. So if we can already get there sooner, it's even better. So let's again reference the dry and then what we have going with preamp gain and compression.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news. I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news.
We're going to keep going and explore the de-esser section now. And keep in mind, when we go 10 to 1, that would be a limiter. So let's say you had a really dynamic vocal, you could have that limiter catching any peaks to get past the compressor, and it would also be post preamp. But I'm thinking I'm going to use it as a de-esser here just because this is a little bit bright of a vocal.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news. Day after day, it's a tragic story. Night after night, telling us we lose. Somewhere there's a monster sleeping. Somewhere there's a young girl sneaking out. She ran so far to find her safety now. Glad she made it out. Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix.
All right, that section of verse 2 is where we have the most sibilance, so let's stay there for a minute to set the de-esser on the best possible setting.
Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix. Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix. Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix. Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix. Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix.
All right, 6K seems to be the best setting there. So now I'm going to add in some EQ. Like I said before, I want to maybe bring up some low mids just to give a little extra warmth. Maybe cut some of the 1 to 2K or 1 to 3K range. And then I'm going to go all the way up to 20 and see if we can get some air and, explore coming down lower there. I don't want to get into bringing back any sibilance that we just addressed with the de-esser section. But it would be nice if after that there's a little something special, especially with a hardware EQ inspired by a Pultec that we could do to bring some air on the vocal.
Chemicals in pill form, crush them up, add it to the mix. Jesse made his way through chemo, and Emma takes too much to get her fix. Somewhere there's a light still shining. Somewhere there's a bright man finding out, connecting all those broken pieces now. I'm just glad he figured out.
All right, let's hear that again against the dry vocal. So this is where we started.
Somewhere there's a light still shining.
And then to the processed vocal with the VOXBOX, all sections in now.
Somewhere there's a light still shining.
And let's hear it all in context with the acoustic guitar now.
I don't like to read the papers, not much good they tell you in the news. Day after day it's a tragic story, night after night telling us we lose. Somewhere there's a monster sleeping. Somewhere there's a young girl sneaking out. She ran so far to find her safety now. Glad she made it out.
Okay, I mean, that's sitting really well because Patrick's a really dynamic singer. And, you know, the verses are much lower than like the end of that chorus there. And with just the L-op compressor doing maybe 3 to 5 dB, it's really hugging it and holding it in a nice place. So that's awesome. So, I mean, hearing the vocal, that's exactly what I wanted to accomplish with it. And to be able to do it all in one piece of gear is awesome, because usually I would have to run it back through one of my Shadow Hills preamps and then send it over to one of the other outboard compressors and then hit an outboard EQ. And then I don't have an outboard de-esser. So this is great. It takes some time to learn, but once you figure out how the sections interact with one another and keep checking your meters for, you know, each setting, this is a really, really powerful box. Okay, so what I'd like to do next is try it out on bass guitar. It's been a running joke over the years that they could have named this thing the bass box instead of the VOXBOX because it's that good. So I'm going to take the song Light by Too Far Moon, which is the solo work of my buddy Lee Hester. It's got a cool bass line in the song, and particularly in the verses, it walks up a little higher on the neck of the bass. And so I remember when I mixed it, I needed a little extra low end support to, you know, so that things didn't get too thinned out during those parts. I'm excited to really boost the bottom end on it and see where we can go. So I cheated a little bit. I tested it out and I went ahead and dialed in the preamp gain at 55. I really like it there. It's just pushing things a little bit, but still giving some clarity on the bass. You know, I don't want to get into any kind of overdrive situation or anything to soften the transients too much. So I feel like that was a good spot. So we're starting there. Let me hit play on the song just so you can get a sense of what the song sounds like, and then we'll dive into the bass.
Much left of what it used to be.
So that's the dry bass just as it was sent to me to mix. So let's insert the VOXBOX and get a sense of what it's like with just that preamp gain. All right, I'm going to add in compression, and then I'm not going to use the de-esser section on this one. I obviously be pretty rare you need a de-ess a bass, and I don't think I want to use the 10-to-1 limiter. So I'll add in the 3-to-1 compressor, the L-op compression, and then I'll hop over to the EQ. And on bass, I really love doing something in the 70 down to maybe 30 hertz range normally. And also, I really like 1.5K and see if we can bring out some information there that will help, once we've got a big bottom end going, keep a little something on the top to help give further definition so the ear can pick out all the individual bass notes. All right, here we go. All right, let's check that out with the drum kit. All right, I like it around 70 hertz and 1.5K. Let's hear it in the whole context of the mix and see how it's sitting and if, it leads to wanting to change anything else.
There's not much left of what it used to be. This vacant space keeps reminding me I'm lost.
All right, I want you to notice on this, when I switch to the EQ out, so basically this is the last in the chain, you can see how hard I'm pushing the VOXBOX and listen to how clean and how much headroom is still in the box, because that, listening to interviews of Ivana Manley talking about this piece, I really got a sense that they wanted just as much headroom as possible. Not clean in a sterile sense, but clean in the sense that you could really do like this. I mean, we've got the low and the top cranked about as far as you can go, and the box is not falling apart, which is great. So let's solo out the bass here. Check out the meter to see how far we're pushing it, and listen to how much clarity we're still retaining. That's awesome, because if you've ever, especially like when you're using a preamp, A lot of times when it comes time to mix, you know, it's not that uncommon in some of your favorite records for them to take them and run them through a pair of 1073s or something along that lines to warm them up, you know, if maybe they weren't tracked with the most character. And there's this really fine line on a lot of preamps, even some of the most popular ones, where you get a little bit of drive and a little bit of saturation, and then all of a sudden it just completely falls apart and it turns into a really unpleasant distortion. So this is great where you can really take what you've got, dial in as much warmth and a little bit of saturation in there. But I don't know if it would be possible to push this thing to sounding bad. At least I haven't been able to yet. So if you find yourself looking for something that has a lot of headroom, this is by far the best piece I've come across yet. So you may be thinking, especially when you're inserting it as I am in this video instead of tracking through it, like, why would I need a preamp? But this one really shows its worth in that area by dialing in that negative feedback, aka color, without all of a sudden like, oh my goodness, this thing's completely crapped out and, you know, sounding terrible. All right, so I think the bass box name is well deserved. So if you get this piece, just think of it as you're getting a Vox box and a bass box, amongst other things. I'm not going to drag this review out too long because I know most people come in here are going to want to hear it on vocals, and then bass is kind of a bonus. But I could really imagine this being a cool piece on acoustic guitar, on any kind of acoustic instrument, electric guitar, drums. I think would be really cool to dial in, you know, to push the preamp a little bit and use that L-op compressor to get, you know, more of a vintage kind of squishy drum sound. But I think next up, let's check out a female vocal and then we'll wrap it up with that. Okay, for the last section here, I want to take a female vocal. The singer here is Jessica Baker, and the song is Getting Over You, which was written by Steven and Gabrielle Von Haking. I wanted to use this one because I know it was a little peaky in the like 1 to 3K range, and from the verse to the chorus, there's a wide dynamic range. Jessica's a great singer and has a really great range. So as we get into the chorus, I will work on probably speeding up the attack of the compressor and just basically seeing, you know, how far we can push it without it getting too squashed. So here we go. I'm going to start in the second verse and go into the second chorus because the second chorus is a little bit bigger.
Only road, but it's something I must do. Don't tell me that I'm nothing without you, 'cause this life is short, too short to waste on you. I'm on a journey to a better life, and I lift my head up. I am leaving this place, and I've got news for you. I've got something to say. I'm getting over you, and all the things that you've said. I'm getting over you. No more thoughts of you in my head. I'm getting over you, and all the heartache you caused. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I'm over you. I'm getting over you, and all the things that you've said. I'm getting over you. No more thoughts of you in my head. I'm getting over you, and all the heartache you caused. I'm moving on, I'm moving on.
That actually compressed more than I thought it would be capable of. I kind of thought of it more as just a gentle, on the way in compressor. And I always like to pull out this vocal when I'm really testing out, the capabilities of a compressor covering a wide dynamic range without falling apart. And I think it held up great. Everything remained really clear and up front. I was able to do pretty aggressive EQ, scooping out quite a bit at 1.5K. Settled in on the best place for the top end boost was 12K, and then a little bit of 200 hertz on the low end shelf to bring up a little body. All right, guys, there's the review of the Manley VOXBOX. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. And before we go, I want to ask you, leave a comment. Let me know, would you like to hear it compared to the UAD plugin? If that's something that interests you, I will try to fit that in before I have to return the VOXBOX to Mark. So if you're interested in that, leave me a comment and let me know. Thanks for your time. I know on videos like this, these are a little more advanced, a little bit more of a deeper dive. So anybody that takes the time to check it out, I really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, there's a lot more material in this same vein. I like to review a lot of outboard gear, and I also like to compare those to their plug-in counterparts. So if that's something that interests you, subscribe while you're here. If you got value out of the video, click the heart below and leave a little something to say thanks, and I would greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, thanks. I'll see you again soon. Take care.